Hello, hello everyone. I, CA Shikha, welcomes you all on the taxation talk. Today we are going to discuss the recently issued guidelines on the Section 194R. Section 194R is a section of TDS on the benefit and perquisites. This section is going to be applicable from the 1st July 2022, means the next month. However, there are many ambiguities that requires so much of clarification from the government. So by this circular, the government has clarified many ambiguities, has clarified many provisions. So that is a welcome step by the government. So let's start the discussion on this. So in the starting, they have briefed about the section, that the section 194R is a section applicable on the person who is responsible for providing any benefit and perquisite to a resident, and that benefits and perquisites are those benefits that arise from the business and profession, and that can be convertible into money or not. So there is a condition that there should be a benefit and perquisite arising from the business and profession. So the person providing such benefit and perquisite is required is to ensure itself that TDS has been deducted at the rate of 10%. And another thing is that where the benefit or perquisite is in kind or partly in cash, partly in kind, then the person providing such benefit and perquisite is required to ensure that the TDS, means the tax amount on that benefit and perquisite, has been paid. The section shall not be applicable where the value of benefit and perquisite is doesn't exceed the 20,000 rupees. So there is a threshold amount of 20,000 rupees, and the section shall be applicable on the individual and HUF only, means individual and HUF are responsible for deducting the DDS under section 194R only when the turnover in the preceding financial year exceeds 1 crore rupees in case of business and 50 lakh rupees in case of profession. So the subsection 2 of the section 194R authorize the board to issue guidelines for the removal of any difficulties. So by the subsection 2, these guidelines has been issued, means the circular has been issued because of this subsection 2. So the first question, that is of the guidelines that they have clarified, is it necessary that person providing such benefit and perquisite needs to check if the amount is taxable under the clause 4 of the section 28 before deducting the tax under section 194R, meaning thereby means when the person who is deducting a TDS under section 194R he is required to check that the benefit and perquisite is taxable for the person under section 28(4). Why they are giving the reference of the section 28(4) over here? The reference of section 28(4) has been given because the intent of the the lawmakers to bring the section 194R is to covered under the tax purview of all the benefits and perquisites of the section 28(4). So what the section 28(4) says? 28(4) says means a person is required to show, means 28(4) exactly says means any benefit and perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, shall be the business income. So what happened exactly means people receive the benefit and perquisite, however they are not showing the same in the return of income, means people are receiving that benefit and perquisite, they are not offering the same for the taxation. So therefore, to cover the same under the taxation purview, the lawmakers has inserted section 194R कि जब TDS जब बेनिफिट प्रोवाइड करने वाला ही TDS काट लेगा, देन सामने वाले को अपने रिटर्न में दिखाना पड़ जाएगा. मीन्स उसके 26 ईयर्स में रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाएगा, देन दैट पर्सन इज रिक्वायर्ड टू शो दैट इनकम इन इट्स रिटर्न ऑफ इनकम. So that was a main intent of bringing that section 194R. This intention has been brought, means this intention has been mentioned in the memorandum. So now the question is, जब person benefit and perquisite provide कर रहा है, is he is required to check कि that benefit and perquisite is taxable under section 28(4). So the lawmaker has clarified in that the person is not required to check the taxability under section 28(4). It can be happen that the benefit and perquisite is not taxable under section 28(4). It can be taxable under section 41(1). So they have clearly provided that provider of the section will not check the taxability in the hands of the recipient. They have distinguished the section 194R with the section 195. They have provided that the section 195, means section 195 is a section that is applicable for the payer making payment to the non-resident and the foreign company. So they have mentioned that the section 195, there are two phrases: any other sum chargeable under the provision of act and the rate in force. So because of these two phrases, the payer has to check the taxability in the hands of the recipient, and even the rate. They have to check both the things कि उसके recipient के hands में taxable है या नहीं है, and the rate, अगर है तो at which rate that amount is taxable. So these two phrases are not present in this section 194R. So that's why provider of the benefit and perquisite is not required to check the taxability in the hands of the recipient. So for this they have made a reference to the Supreme Court judgment Pilcom vs CIT West Bengal, which has held that tax is to be deducted under section 196D of the Act at specified rate indicated therein, and there is no need to check the taxability in the hands of the non-resident. Means payer is not required to check the taxability in the hands of the recipient. The next question is that necessary that benefit and perquisite must be in kind? Then the next question is, क्या benefit and perquisite are necessary to be in kind? So in this, government has clarified that all kind of perquisites are covered in the scope of the section 194R, whether it is in cash, whether it is in kind, whether it is in partly cash or partly kind. All the perquisites are covered under section 194R. If we check this language of the section, I think here they have not mentioned the language. So if we check the language, one second, if we check the language, there is one thing. So in the if you check the para, the new section mandates a person. In this there is a line that benefit and perquisite may or may not be convertible into money. So the language of the section is may or may not be convertible into money. So this has created an ambiguity whether the benefit and perquisites which are completely in cash, will that be covered under section 194R. So department has clarified all the perquisites are covered, whether cash, kind or partly. Next is there is a requirement to deduct the tax under section 194R when the benefit and perquisite is in the form of the capital asset. Then this department had said, क्या डिडक्टर को ये चेक करना है कि क्या डिडक्टर को 194R में टीडीएस डिडक्ट करना है जब उसके बेनिफिट एंड perquisites कैपिटल एसेट हैं. So as answered in the first question, that the payer is not required to check the taxability, means provider of the benefit is not required to check the taxability in the hands of the recipient. So same, by taking the reference of that they have answered. So they are not required to check whether that benefit and perquisite is becoming a capital asset in the hands of the recipient. still the section 194 are apply. Payer is required to deduct the TDS. So by giving reference to the various case law where capital asset has been taxed under the section 28(4), similarly they have clarified the section 194R will also be applicable even the benefit and perquisites are becoming the capital assets in the hands of the recipient. These are the case law they have mentioned. Whether sales discount, cash discounts and rebates are the benefit and perquisite. So starting with this, department has clarified, government has clarified in this, even though sales discounts, cash discounts and rebates, when they are allowed to the customer, they are reduced from the retail price, listed price. That means lesser realization to the seller, lesser payment by the payer. So it is a one benefit that the payer, when the payer is required to make the less payment, then definitely it is a benefit to the payer. So the government has mentioned that this is a benefit and perquisite. Logically, TDS shall be applicable on these type of benefit and perquisite. However, in this department has given relief to the taxpayers that deducting a TDS under these scenarios means cash discount, sales discounts and rebate will cause a difficulty to the seller. That's why they have given the benefit that the section 194R shall not be applicable on the cash discount, sales discount and the rebate. So by the example they have given how the difficulty will arise for the seller to deduct the TDS. They have also clarified that they have only removed the sales discount, cash discount and rebate from the 194R purview. However, TDS shall be applicable when the incentive is given in the form of cash and kind, just like car is given, TV is given, computer, gold coins. When a trip has been sponsored for the recipient or his relative, free tickets for the event has been provided, free medicine samples has been provided. So this list is not exhaustive. There are n number of cases that can become the benefits and perquisites. So only 3 things has been removed from the 194R: sales discount, cash discounts and the rebate. Now the further most important thing I want to highlight in that it has been clarified that benefit and perquisite that the provider is providing, that benefit and perquisite can be used by the owner, director or employee or any relative in the individual capacity. So there can be any person who is using that benefit and perquisite, and maybe that individual is not carrying a business and profession. So if we see on the face that section 194R shall not be applicable, because the recipient who is using that benefit and perquisite is not carrying on any business and profession. So logically 194R shall not be applicable, because 194R has the applicability when the recipient of that benefit and perquisite is receiving that benefit and perquisite who is carrying on business and profession. So recipient must carrying on the business and profession, then only तभी उसका TDS डिडक्ट होगा. सो यहाँ पे इन केस ऐसा हो सकता है दैट आपने बेनिफिट एंड perquisite प्रोवाइड करे एंड दैट बेनिफिट एंड perquisite is used by the relative or the employee. So that employee or that relative तो business नहीं कर रहे ना, they are not engaged into business and profession individually. So on the face if we see तो 194R नहीं applicable होना चाहिए. But department has clarified even that benefit and perquisite are using by the director, the employee and the relative who may not be carrying on the business and profession, still the 194R shall be applicable, because how that employee is using that benefit and perquisite, it is only getting a benefit on the behalf of its employer. It's exactly the employer who is getting the benefit. So in substance, it is not the employee, it's the employer who is getting the benefit. So that employer is engaged in the business and profession. So they have mentioned कि ये नहीं फ़र्क पड़ता who is using that benefit and perquisite. So in that they have given one example where the hospital has a dealing with the company. Let's suppose a pharmaceutical company. Hospital and the pharmaceutical company are dealing. So that pharmaceutical company, instead of providing free samples to the hospital, they have provided the free medicine to the employee of the hospital. So that employee is not engaged in the business and profession. Uski to job hai, he is not engaged in the business and profession. So if we see the transaction on the face, the 194 hours shall not be applicable. So when the government has clarified that benefit and perquisite कोई भी use कर सकता है. So this example may, if we check, that the employee is getting, means that doctor is getting that benefit and perquisite only because of his employment. In the substance, that hospital is getting the benefit from the company. So that company is required to deduct the TDS of the hospital under section 194R, and that hospital will deduct the TDS of the employee under section 192. So जो हॉस्पिटल ने जो फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी ने डायरेक्टली डॉक्टर को बेनिफिट दिया है, सो दैट ट्रांजेक्शन डायरेक्टली एम्प्लॉय के हैंड्स में टैक्सेबल नहीं है. सो फर्स्ट लूप ऑफ द ट्रांजेक्शन, पहले तो कंपनी हॉस्पिटल का TDS डिडक्ट करेगी अंडर सेक्शन 194R, देन हॉस्पिटल डिडक्ट करेगा एम्प्लॉय का अंडर सेक्शन 192 सैलरी वाला. ऑन द सिमिलर ग्राउंड दे हैव मेंशन कि अगर एम्प्लॉय की जगह एनी कंसल्टेंट होता, तो सेम सिनेरियो में फर्स्टली कंपनी to that hospital section 194R, then hospital to consultant will be section 194J. 194R. 194R, because हॉस्पिटल ने भी कंसल्टेंट को बेनिफिट दिया है. सो फॉर द बेनिफिट सेक्शन 194R will be applicable. Now how the valuation is going to be happen? So in this they have clarified if the person before providing such benefit has purchased, so that purchase price will be the value of benefit and perquisite, and if that provider has manufactured the benefit and perquisite, then the price that he is going to be charged from the customer will be the value of benefit and perquisite, and in the other cases fair market value, and the GST shall not be included for the purpose of valuation. Next is there are the social media influencers. Many a times, question 6, many a times a social media influencer is given a product of a manufacturing company, so that they can use that product and make the videos to speak about the product in social media. So is this product given to such influencer a benefit and perquisite? So in this they have clarified, if इसमें बेनिफिट एंड परक्विजिट उस केस में होगा व्हेन दैट सोशल मीडिया इन्फ्लुएंसर इफ रिटेनिंग दैट प्रोडक्ट itself after preparing a video, if they are retaining that product with itself, then it will be a benefit and perquisite. However, if they are returning that product, then it will not be a benefit and perquisite. Now next is the out of pocket expense. So by this circular, even the reimbursement of the out of pocket expense is going to be taxed as a 194R. So in this they have mentioned that any expenditure which is the liability of one person who is carrying on business and profession, if met by another person, is in effect benefit and perquisite. If any expenditure which is the liability of a first person carrying on business profession, if met by other person, then it will be the benefit and perquisite by the second person to the first person. So they have explained this with an example. So crux of that is this: if one person is if the expenditure of one person is met by the another person, then definitely it will be the benefit and perquisite. However, in this the taxability is depend upon the invoicing. Invoice किसके ऊपर हुआ है? Let's take an example. There is a consultant who is rendering services to a person X. So for while providing the services, consultant has incurred the lodging and boarding expenses for the purpose for exclusively for the X. So there are two instances in that कि वो consultant invoice बनवा ले on his name and then get it reimbursed from the party from its client X. So in that case he has made the invoice on his name and get it reimbursed by the X. So in that case 194 hours shall be applicable. However, अगर वो कंसल्टेंट इनवॉइस बनवा लेता है ऑन द एक्स नेम्स, चाहे वो खुद पे कर दे या एक्स पेमेंट कर दे डायरेक्टली, दैट डजंट मैटर. मीन्स बेसिक थिंग इज इनवॉइस. व्हेन द इनवॉइस इज ऑन द नेम ऑफ एक्स, then in that case it will not be a benefit and perquisite for the consultant. Then there is no applicability of the 194 hour. So the next question is, there are the dealer conferences to educate the dealers about the product. So will that be a benefit and perquisite? So they have provided that these dealer and business conferences will not be a benefit and perquisite if that conference is held for the following purpose. Means they have held the business conference for their new product launch, or for the discussion how the product is better than others, obtaining orders from the dealers and customer, teaching sales techniques, addressing queries, or reconciliation of accounts. So if we check, these are the basic business purpose. There is no intention of providing benefit and perquisite. So in that case 194 hour is not applicable. However, if the conference is in the nature that you are providing the leisure trips to the dealers, or you are providing the reimbursing the expenditure incurred for the family members accompanying the person attending the dealer, or the expenditure on the participation or the expenditure on participants of dealers and business conference for days which are on account of prior stay or overstay beyond the date of conference. So in the three these cases we are providing benefit and perquisite. So in that case 194 hour shall be applicable. Another most important point, if any conference has been held for the selective dealers who has achieved the business targets, means for the selective group you are arranging that dealer conferences, then in that case it's a benefit and perquisite 194 hours shall be applicable. Next is some there is the section 194 hour contains when the benefits are in kind or partly in cash and partly in kind, and the cash component is not sufficient to deduct the TDS under section 194 R. Then the provider of the benefit and perquisite is required to ensure that tax has been paid. So the question 9 relates to how the provider of that benefit and perquisite is required to ensure itself. So for ensuring, the circular has provided the two ways. First way is the advance tax pay kar de, means the advance tax has been paid by the beneficiary or the recipient of benefit and perquisite, and furnish that declaration to the provider of the benefit and perquisite that he has paid the TDS, that tax amount, in the form of advance tax, and he has also submitted a challan. So the provider of benefit and perquisite will rely on the declaration and the challan, and afterwards he can provide that benefit and perquisite. And the second way is that कि जो प्रोवाइडर ऑफ बेनिफिट एंड परक्विसिट ही उसके ऊपर TDS डिपॉजिट कर दे, considering that TDS amount is also a benefit for the recipient, means the TDS amount भी उसके लिए benefit है. So these two ways has been prescribed in this. So the next question is कि जो section 194R में limit है of the 20,000, so from when this section is from when to count the limit of the 20,000, as the section is going to be applicable from the 1st July. So they have clarified that the limit of 20,000 is for the financial year. So the person is required to check the limit from the 1st April. So if during the period 1st April to 30th June the limit of 20,000 has been crossed, so from the 1st July onwards all the benefit and perquisite is under the purview of TDS, and all the benefit and perquisite between the period of April to June will not be covered under the section 194R. So that's all for these 10 questions. The clarification, it is a much awaited clarification. It's a welcome step. Government has clarified lot of provision in that. So for any queries you can comment in the comment box, and if you like this video please like and stay connected with us. Thank you.